Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy JJ, and today I am here with the first episode of the JJ's New England Sports Corner podcast. And today I'll be talking about at the time of recording, very recent victory for the New England Patriots over the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship Game, as well as giving sort of weekend reviews of the Celtics and the Bruins games this week. Before I go on, make sure you guys like and subscribe. I plan to be doing these podcasts once a week, where I'll be doing pretty much the same type of thing, weeks in reviews for every team, depending on who's in season, as well as other big happenings, trades, free agent signings, all the likes. So make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications. If you do want to see me talk about these things, or not, do whatever you want. I'm not your dad. But anyways, let's just get started here. The Patriots struggled through quite the weather there. It was downright awful weather in the second half of this ball game, and it wasn't just the Patriots; it was the Broncos as well. I mean, Broncos struck first. Jarrett Stidham, he beat the Patriots deep. I mean, on the second drive, the Pats dared Jarrett Stidham to beat him, and damn it, he did. He hit Marvin Mims on on a dot of a pass for 52 yards before scoring 2 plays later. I mean, the Broncos offense in the first half was pretty well solid. New England struggled like they usually do at the start of a game. Whoop-de-doo. But I mean, like they did throughout pretty much the second half of this game, they persevered. Their defense turned the momentum around. They got the huge turnover on what was initially called an incomplete pass with intentional grounding, and that set up Drake May's rushing touchdown to tie things. As unfortunately, there was multiple missed field goals that prevented any more scoring in the first half. And then by the time of the second half, you had the weather starting to get a little extreme. And then by the end of the third, that's when it really started getting bad. Like about as bad as I'm getting right here in New Jersey. And for context, we got about 18 inches. We got about 18 inches of snow in New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, Borregales obviously coming through, making a clutch field goal. That helped. Would have liked if he had nailed the if he would have been nice if he would have nailed that other field goal in the second half. But I mean, we didn't need it at the end of the day, so can't be too mad about it. But yeah, I mean, the key driving factor for this team, obviously, the defense. Defense was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they made Jarrett Stidham uncomfortable, much like they did with Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud in the second halves of their matchups against those guys. And also another thing I want to point out here is Will Campbell. Will Campbell played a lot better than he did in the first couple of weeks against LA and Houston. Yes, he did get a lot of chip help, and I'm willing to admit that. But this was by far his best game of the playoffs. He didn't allow too many pressures on Benito or whoever was going up against him. And even on when dealing with stunts, Will Campbell was just a lot better in almost every facet. He did get beat off the edge a couple times, but not nearly as much as he did when he was facing the likes of Khalil Mack and Will Anderson and Odafe Oweh. So I really want to give some praise to Campbell because to put it simply, for as awful as he played in in those first two playoff games, he really stepped it up. And I really got to give him credit for it. Even my dad said that Will Campbell is playing better when I brought it up, which is pretty good. Which is pretty good praise coming from him because he has not liked the Will Campbell pick one bit. And then, I mean, this is about as good as I expected the Broncos defense to be. Honestly, I came into this game fearing the Broncos defense more than I feared the Texans defense, because from what I was able to gather when studying them to the best of my abilities, the Texans defense was very, very basic in a way, but like in the sense that they looked to beat you solely off of the talent and the technique, whereas the Broncos utilize misdirection a lot in their play. The Texans don't really mess around with, faking stuff, whereas you could see the Broncos have 6 guys up front on the offensive line and look like they're sending the house, but in reality, they only send 4, and they'll drop all those guys in the middle and then bring a friggin' nickel corner. But yeah, I was super scared. I was super scared of that defense. And honestly, I'm really glad that Mike Vrabel decided to lean on the defense instead of trying to beat the Broncos defense with the offense. I think that was the best decision of the game, was letting Vrabel sort of more or less like feed the hot hand. He knew the defense was stopping Denver, and he decided to lean on them. He leaned on them on the last couple for Denver's last couple possessions. Hell, the last couple of offensive drives before Gonzo's interception, he had Drake May deliberately throw the ball away on 3rd down, and then went with an inside run on 3rd and 9. And for that, I got to praise Vrabel for not trying to, ice the game right away, in a sense, where he could have tried to, get the third down trying to pass, and instead just letting the defense ride and not forcing Drake May in the offense to try and do something to get the job done. So massive praise for Mike Vrabel on that decision. So yeah, obviously now the Pats get to move on and face the winner of the Rams-Seahawks game. And I'm a bit conflicted as to who I want the Pats to face, because the Seahawks look absolutely phenomenal. But at the same time, part of me wants the Rams to win to see what a Drake May and Matthew Stafford matchup would look like. But and also the Seahawks. I don't know, man. That's tough. But part of me thinks that if the Seahawks don't advance to the Super Bowl, then a Patriots Super Bowl win would automatically have an asterisk. But in all fairness, people are probably going to put an asterisk on this friggin' Super Bowl anyways, whether Pats fans like it or not. So, yeah, I'd probably rather face the Rams. part of me is curious what the Stafford and May duel would look like. And then yeah. Yeah, as far as also a couple other guys I want to give credit to. Kayvon Chason. He he was the depth signing for New England this past year for the edge spot, and he has absolutely blown his expectations out of the water. Like, I don't know if the Pats give away any type of most improved player award at like a team banquet or whatever, but it should most definitely go to Kayvon Chason. I mean, the dude was trending towards bust status in 5 years, in his first 5 years. And, he signed with New England on a pretty cheap contract. Let me look that up to make sure. I want to say like $4 million. Yeah, 1 year, $5 million. And Kayvon Chason today was just all over the ball. He was near single handedly wreaking havoc. I mean, he was just coming loose so many times. He was stopping screens. He was chasing after the ball carrier from the far side. I mean, Chason was a headache to deal with for Denver. And the Patriots very much needed that. Obviously, I love Gonzo for coming through with that pick, especially after getting beat up top. That really helped things out, obviously. But I mean, just this whole defense was just absolutely phenomenal. I really can't stress enough how dominant this defense was. Kyrus Tonga, he made such a big difference in the run game. Friggin' Christian Barmore was able to beat Quinn Miners, an All Pro, the first team All Pro. He was able to beat him multiple times, even coming through with the sack. But yeah, I'm just so proud of the defense and the way they were able to rally with how many times they were called upon. I am so pleasantly surprised with how they were able to deal with that. And hopefully by this time next week, I shouldn't say hopefully because I will be doing it, but by this time next week, I'll actually be able to look at some film for each of the Rams and the Seahawks to see which team I would rather face. But yeah, make sure that happens. And then, so without further ado, I'll move on from the Pats, and real quick, I'll just get on talking about. I'll start off with the Celtics. So the Boston Celtics, they hold on. So they went 2-2 this past week. Most recently, they just lost 114 to 111 to the Bulls on the second part of a back-to-back. And in all honesty, I'm a bit conflicted on that loss because I would like to think that in other more other less stressful conditions for the Celtics, I guess, to put it easily, because they came off a double overtime win against the Nets, and that was also a grueling game for the Celtics, that Bulls game. It sucks they weren't able to come out with the win, but it was. I can't imagine it's easy coming off a game the day before in apparently only arriving in Chicago at 3 a.m. that day. So I can't be too mad about that loss. First game of the week, they lost to the Pistons. Uh, I mean, I'm actually very proud of how good their defense was against Kate Cunningham, and it was very clear that their game plan was to stop Cade Cunningham at nearly all costs. Cunningham, I think shot 4 for 17. He ended up with 16 and 14 assists. Uh, Tobias Harris led the Pistons with 25. Uh, Jaylen Brown had 32 points, 11 boards. But that just a couple of Boston's key contributors on offense really didn't pull their weight. Derek White and Anthony Simons were not what you'd like from them. Derek White was 1 for 11 from the field. Simons 4 for 11, and the bench didn't really. The bench as a whole wasn't the best. We've definitely seen them perform better. And then against the Pacers, that was one of the bench's better games. They ended up combining for 32 points, as Pacers really weren't doing much of anything without Siakam. He had 32 and 10. But this time it was friggin' it was about time during a Celtics Pacers matchup where the Pacers finally didn't start off wicked hot from the field. Like the Pacers kind of struggled out the gate. And Boston had a 20-point lead at half, which they almost blew. I want to say it got up to about 24 or 25 before Indy made a comeback and got it to within 9. And I could not have been more stressed out as a Celtics fan watching that game, because it was just simply ugh. Watching Indy friggin' come back like that. I for sure thought they were gonna take the lead at some point, but they kept. Celtics put their foot back on the gas and got the win. And then this matchup against the Nets in double OT it was insane. It was one of the best games entertainment wise I've seen all year. From Peyton Pritchard played a friggin' great game. Jaylen Brown had a triple double, but then you got Amari Williams, who isn't used to playing. Who isn't used to playing anywhere outside of garbage time, and who had to catch a flight from Maine. Shout out Maine, 207 represent. But he had to catch a flight to Brooklyn to get there for that matchup. Didn't end up and needed to come through in overtime after Neemias Queta and Luka Garza fouled out. Came through with that clutch assist to Peyton Pritchard to help keep the Celtics in it in overtime, which eventually led to Hugo Gonzalez nailing the game-tying 3 to send it to double overtime. And then came through with that clutch block on Nolan Traore in double OT to keep it a 4-point game to help the Celtics eventually win. I'm so proud of Amari Williams and how he was able to just come out there with like almost no prep and just shine through. It's awesome. It's awesome seeing those unsung heroes. And then Amari Williams got the start in Chicago, and admittedly, it was not all that good. Hold on, let me check his stats real quick. But he was largely a non-factor. Yeah, Amari Williams. He only ended up playing 10 minutes. 10 minutes too. Queta still got the bulk of the minutes. He ended up playing 24. Luka Garza got 14. Amari Williams ended up getting 10. He only had 2 points and 2 rebounds. But I mean, Celtics, once again, they got out rebounded just like they did against the Nets. And that's one thing I actually forgot to mention, by the way, about the Nets game. They got out rebounded heavily. 58-41 was the rebounding margin. And the Nets also scooped up 16 offensive boards. And it was frustrating. It was frustrating how many offensive boards they were getting, especially when there was like that little bit of time in overtime before Williams came into the game, but after Garza had fouled out, because Keita had already fouled out, and Garza just fouled out. The Celtics decided to play small. You had Hauser, Hugo, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, and it was just friggin' stressful seeing them just give up so many offensive boards in overtime specifically, and yeah, it was awful. But I mean, Celtics fought back. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of Jaylen Brown for being able to put on performances like this. Like being able to put up a triple-double effort with, I want to say 27, 12, and 10, if I'm not mistaken. Let me switch to the Nets game. Full box score. Yeah, 27 points, 12 assists, and 10 boards. I mean, seeing Jaylen Brown being that capable of doing so many things on the court, as well as being able to be a playmaker, that's awesome to see, especially when he wasn't performing the best from the field. Like you got, he was only 9 for 27 from the field, and only ended up making 5 of his 10 free throws at that too. And then you got Baylor Shireman, who got the start since Derek White was resting that game. He went 2 for 8 from the field. Simon's off the bench. He went 4 for 16. But I mean, at the end of the day, Hugo made a clutch shot off the friggin' bench. He had 10 and 7. And also shout out to Brown, to Hugo, and to and Shireman as well. They really stepped up when the bigs really just weren't rebounding. Like Keita in 28 minutes, he had 6 points and 5 rebounds. Garza only had one rebound the entire time. And in all fairness, Luka Garza was helping the Celtics tally offensive rebounds by just tipping them out. But he played 20 minutes, only had 1 rebound. But yeah, like if Brown, Shireman, and Hugo are any less productive on the rebounding side, the Nets come out. I think the Nets come out and win it, because it certainly wasn't the bigs rebounding. And also shout out to Sam Hauser for that game. He went 5 for 10 from 3, ended up with 19. That's exactly the type of performance we need out of Sam Hauser. I mean, damn it, he was even making 2-pointers. He was even creating with the ball, and even settled for a mid-range at one point and made that. So, yeah, I'm extremely proud of their win against Brooklyn. Probably should have expected Brooklyn to have a chip on their shoulder after losing by, I believe, 54 to the Knicks a couple days before. And yeah, the Nets were freaking great in this game. Nolan Traore off the bench, freaking 21 points. Michael Porter Jr. I was scared there for a bit, because Michael Porter, he got his fair share of good shots against the Celtics defense, because they were always playing drop coverage. They were playing drop coverage. They were going under screens. And, Porter, he's damn near 7 foot, can friggin' shoot over anybody. And it's kind of like almost a dollar store Kevin Durant-ish type of deal where it's like he can make these shots, obviously not at the rate KD can, but he's capable of it. So I was scared that he was just gonna that he was gonna end up making a lot of those shots. But lo and behold, he didn't. Nick Claxton came through with those 2 putbacks. In regulation. Was it regulation or OT? No, whatever. We had Nick Claxton. Fun fact, I share a birthday with him. We were both born on April 17th. So happy birthday to bro. But yeah, I'm just extremely proud of the effort that Boston showed. I'm extremely proud that they were able to rally when just when things seemed pretty bleak and get the tough win. Even with how heavily they got out rebounded. And now last but not least, we got the Bruins. So Bruins went 2-1 this week in this calendar week, not including their win, I believe. Not including their win over the Blackhawks. But yeah, they had 3 games this week. Their first one was a loss, brutal loss, might I add, 6-2 to the Dallas Stars. I mean, the only real upside of that game was Morgan Geekie finally breaking his streak of not scoring a goal. I mean, Dallas's forecheck was what really helped them succeed in this game. I mean, they were just relentless. Friggin' the Bruins just could not operate in their own defensive zone, and they struggled mightily getting it out of their defensive zone and even into the neutral zone. And then it didn't help that, the Bruins also accrued 3 separate penalties in the first period. And Dallas scored on 2 of those power plays. And I mean, you're just not going to succeed when you give up 3 penalties in the first period. And let me just look up real quick where Dallas's power play ranks right now. Yeah, Dallas is the second best power play in the NHL. And you just can't do that when a team operates at a 29.1% clip on the power play. They're actually one spot above the Bruins, who rank third at 27.6, and then Edmonton is kind of far above the Dallas at 31.8%. But yeah, I mean, you're just not going to win. You're not winning hockey games when you accrue 3 separate minor penalties in the first period. That's just not going to happen. But then they rebounded. They bounced back against Vegas. They almost blew it against Vegas. Frig off. Yeah, they almost blew it against. They almost blew it against Vegas. They allowed 3 in the third period, but they rallied around the tendy. Was it Swayman or Corpy for that game? Yeah, it was Corpy. They rallied around Corpy, who has just been on an absolute tear in his last, I believe, 4 starts. Obviously, he didn't start against Dallas, but he ended up coming in for Swayman after all 6 goals. But yeah, I mean, his last 4 starts, he's been on a tear. The win against wins against Calgary, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and then Vegas. He's been playing like a man with nothing to lose. He's playing like a guy fighting for his next contract. And I mean, I don't see why the Bruins wouldn't keep him around if he's able to produce consistent stretches like this when Swayman's not in goal. I don't see why he doesn't maintain a spot on this roster. And as soon as I say that, he's probably gonna allow 4 goals. He'll probably allow 4 bad goals in his next start. It'll just be my jinx. And then the final game, and in all honesty, I was not able to watch um, where I'm at right now. I'm in New Jersey. I'm in New Jersey right now, so I got locked out. I got locked out of the game location wise. I couldn't watch it on Nest. I can't watch any games on NESN. I couldn't get. I don't get NHL Network, so I couldn't really report on the game, and I will not be reporting on games that I do not personally watch. That I'm keeping my promise there. I don't want to just report based on a box score. But I was able to catch a couple of clips of some of the goals that were scored. And I mean, David Pastrnak is just so friggin' good. That highlight reel goal with Geeky, and then Geeky getting the what ended up being the game winner with that one timer. Oh man, Morgan Geeky's friggin' back, dude. I'm so happy because he went ice cold for a month straight. But I'm so glad he's back to the Geeky that we saw that we have seen throughout most of the season. Yeah, I'm proud of him. And then I don't really have any notes here for the Red Sox, but I mean, I guess I can give a quick summary of what my thoughts are about their offseason, which is definitely a lot better after they signed Ranger Suarez. Honestly, you can even go to my website, jjsnewenglandsportscorner.com. Shameless plug. I have an article that was written and published the day before the Red Sox signed Ranger Suarez, which gave my thoughts on like all the notable moves they'd made, and I gave them a D plus. These were the moves that they've made. They're good moves. Don't get me wrong, but in order for this to be a really good offseason for the Red Sox, they needed to make some kind of big signing or some kind of big trade. And obviously at that point they didn't. All their moves were basically just the Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras signings. And the Johan Oviedo trade. I said signings there, didn't I? But yeah, they made those 3 trades for Sonny Gray, Contreras, and Oviedo. And I thought those were good moves. I think they will help. I think I like the Oviedo signing a bit more than most people. Maybe I'm a bit too high on Oviedo, but I mean, Garcia wasn't gonna get playing time. He just wasn't. We already have a big log jam in the outfield, anyways. With people are predicting Durant to get traded any time now, especially now that these rumors possibly about Isaac Paredes getting traded to Boston. So Garcia wasn't getting any playing time. I don't mind the move. We've already got Duran, Anthony, Abreu, and Rafaela, and I really hope people aren't gonna. I just really hope that the Red Sox don't try and pull some bullshit. Sorry for my potty mouth. That I just really hope they don't try and play Rafael at second base. Why would you take? Because it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you take a Gold Glove winning center fielder and put him in the infield? No, Just stop it. But yeah, that's where I'm at. And I think the Ranger Suarez signing was a big success. You got a guy who, granted, he has he has dropped in velo, but at the same time, his ERA has gone down. His ERA has gone down just like his velo. So I'm not all that scared of any type of regression. And and for what it's worth, Suarez is nails or has been nails in the postseason for the Phillies. So I'll take that. You guys can take that for what it's worth. In an ideal world, I'd still like another bat, at the very least at a possible DH, because I you cannot convince me that this will finally be the year Tristan Cassis becomes healthy and manages to play a full season. You're just not. And then your next best option at DH is what? Masataka Yoshida? Granted, he did play pretty well throughout the last month or so of the year, but that was his best production all throughout his time in Boston. And he can't play the outfield. He's not good defensively in the outfield. He's not very fast. As if we didn't already have the logjam at outfield anyways. And he doesn't hit for enough power to be a DH. Like, if possible, I think the Red Sox really should try and get rid of Yoshida. Trade him somewhere, even take on part of his contract. I kind of don't I kind of don't really care all that much at this point. Any way we can get Yoshida's contract off the books, even if it's only part of it, I am A-okay with. And then I'm not gonna pretend like I know what the move is here at third base. Obviously, if the Red Sox end up, actually, let me check real quick. Is Eugenio Suarez still a free agent? Yeah, Suarez is still a free agent. Obviously, I'd be pretty psyched if Suarez ends up coming to Boston. But it's still impossible to ignore the fact that he was absolute dog water in the postseason. He sucked, and I know that because I actually got to cover. I got to cover a few of the games in the ELCS between or the ALD, whatever series it was. It was the Mariners and Tigers. It was the ALDS. But yeah, I got to cover. I was covering a few games that series, and Suarez was pretty awful. Suarez was pretty awful the entire, pretty much mostly throughout the second half. Pretty much right when he got traded to Seattle. That was kind of the downfall. So I'd be lying if I wasn't concerned about that. But at the same time, I don't know, man. I just, part of me really wants to believe in the likes of Marcelo Meyer and Christian Campbell. And I really want to believe in their potential, because I think if we can get by with them guys as starters, and they do end up taking that step up, all the better for the Red Sox. But I don't know if they will. Roman Anthony, I got no qualms with. He's gonna be a beast. Should have just kept Bregman. I mean, I know it's all water under the bridge now, but I mean, Breslow thinks he's Jesus or something, thinking he can friggin' just piss off Bregman and just predict he'll come back. Seemingly, that's the vibe I'm getting. Because if Breslow really didn't want to offer Bregman a contract up until like it was basically all set in stone, then that's on him. You go ahead and try and piss off your third baseman, one of your leaders in the clubhouse, and that's what happens. Wasn't even that big of a contract, and I think he probably would have taken that contract. He probably would have taken the Red Sox contract if Bregman didn't feel disrespected. So yeah. And contrary to popular belief, I'm not all that sour about the Devers trade. I'm sour about the return. He definitely could have gotten a much better return. I still think he could have gotten a better return, even with being able to get his whole contract off the books. Because apparently there was a deal with the Braves that could have gotten done. They would have gotten Marcell Ozuna, Sean Murphy, and I think a couple pitching prospects that fell by the wayside because the Braves weren't willing to take on Devers' whole contract. But I'm not all that sour on it because at the end of the day, the Red Sox became the hottest team in baseball after the trade. So, contrary to popular belief, I'm still not all that sour about the Devers trade. He's the one that wanted to act like a malcontent. He's the one that didn't want to play first base, as if it's such a hard position to play. So yeah, he wants to cry and moan about it. Let him do it in San Francisco. I don't care. But yeah, I think that'll be it for me. Again, guys, make sure you guys like it and subscribe to my channel. Turn on notifications if you want to hear me talk about New England sports more. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace.